The death penalty repeal has cleared the Senate, setting the path for Connecticut to become the 17th state to abolish capital punishment. We'll talk with one of the state's premier defense attorneys about what it means for future cases and current convicts. And political analyst Matt Hennessy is here to give his view of the legislative session, what has worked and what hasn't. Also, the NSTAR Northeast Utilities merger has cleared its final hurdle. We'll talk with a national business analyst about whether Connecticut got a raw deal in the union. You're watching The Real Story. I'm Lori Perez. After a 10-hour debate, Connecticut is now on the road to becoming the 17th state to abolish capital punishment. In an early morning vote Thursday, the state Senate approved the death penalty repeal bill. Joining us to talk about the effect of a repeal is defense attorney Reese Norris. Reese, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Lori.
You have a very unique perspective because you're a defense attorney who actually supports the death penalty. You did not support the repeal.
I didn't support the repeal, and I'm one of the minority of defense attorneys who actually support the death penalty.
And let's start off with that. Tell me why you do.
I think it has a deterrent value, and I think there's some crimes which are so horrific, such as the Cheshire cases, where it's the only appropriate penalty commensurate with the crime.
One of the arguments, the main argument really from people who oppose the repeal was that they're afraid that as soon as this repeal goes through, that defense attorneys are going to immediately file appeals using the repeal as a basis to overturn their death row inmates' sentences. Your opinion on that?
I agree. In fact, when I hear the legislators say that, oh, this only applies to the new cases, it won't apply to the 11, I think they're either disingenuous or they're naive. No good lawyer representing those 11 on death row is not going to raise this over a series of appeals, which is going to cost millions of dollars and take many, many years to litigate through the courts.
And the very simple basis of the argument would be?
Well, I think they're going to argue that now that the law has changed, is it denial of equal protection? Is it denial of fundamental fairness? They're going to come up with the most innovative arguments possible to say that if it's unfair now in 2012, it should be unfair for all of those 11 as well. And
you think that that would be successful?
I don't think anyone can predict. Certainly, I wouldn't be able to assure people it won't be successful, and I don't think any of the legislators can be sure that it won't be successful.
But it definitely would happen.
It's absolutely going to happen.
Now, one thing that they did was they passed an amendment. I don't know if it was kind of to pacify concerns about the way that former death row inmates might be treated once the repeal goes through. But they passed an amendment saying they're going to create kind of a special class of inmate, and they would be treated and relegated to the same kind of conditions. They termed it, almost exactly like death row. I mean, do you think that that could be enforced in a prison?
Well, I'm sure there'll be challenges on that as well. It certainly can be enforced by the Commissioner of the Department of Corrections, but I'm sure inmates will complain about that. And quite frankly, that really had no impact whatsoever on whether the death penalty is either repealed or not repealed.
So you think it'll be that the establishment of that will be challenged?
I'm sure it'll be challenged as well. I mean, certainly the inmates, if they feel that's some cruel and unusual punishment, they'll raise that as a legal challenge.
But can't they just say, well, you're a part of this class of inmates, and this is the terms of your imprisonment versus, I mean, there's different terms of imprisonment for people who do different things.
Oh, absolutely, from general population to a total lockdown. But I'm saying that it really has no impact on the 11 who are on death row.
Will the lack of the death penalty hamper defense attorneys or prosecutors' abilities to flip suspects in terms to get information or to find out other things about a crime, do you think?
I can envision a situation where you may have multiple defendants in a very heinous crime, and a prosecutor may wish to get a cooperating defendant and would previously have had as a bargaining chip the argument that if you cooperate, I'll take the death penalty off the table. Obviously, that's no longer available for a prosecutor.
You said at the beginning that you thought that the death penalty serves as a deterrent.
I personally do. I think it serves as a deterrent. And I also think it serves as just punishment for some horrific crimes. And Connecticut does not have a bad history with respect to the death penalty, that is the imposition of it, and I don't think there's any question about the guilt of the 11 people who are on death row now.
Some say that the repeal will save money in that it will stop a number of appeals from death row inmates. Other people say it will cost money because prosecutors will not be able to make deals with defendants, and so there'll be more trials. I mean, what do you think?
I don't think that economics should have any part in the decision. I certainly have not considered the economic impact. I think it's either just or not just. There are a lot of people, obviously, who feel that this repeal should not have gone through. The majority, as I see in the polls, of Connecticut residents feel that way, and yet their legal representatives in the legislature don't follow those feelings. But I don't think it has anything to do with economics.
So now it'll go to the House, where it's almost assuredly to pass. And you think the long-term impact on the ability to try cases here in Connecticut will be what?
I think it'll have an impact on plea bargaining in certain cases, and I think we're going to feel the repercussions for years on the appeals that are going to come as a result of the 11 on death row right now.
Are you surprised that it happened?
I'm not surprised, given the liberal nature of our House and Senate and the very stated open position of our governor. It doesn't surprise me, but I think it comes as a great dismay to a lot of people, and most certainly the Pettit family, who has just been through hell, and this is just salt in the wounds.
Right, right. Interesting. Thanks, Reese, for coming and sharing your perspective. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Well, there are big issues in this short session. Lawmakers have their hands full and their schedules booked. We're going to talk about what else is on the agenda, what might become law, and what will be put off for another day.